The streets of America roared back to life on April 5, 2025. From coast to coast, a wave of dissent crashed against the Trump administration. Millions marched in a powerful display of unity and resistance. "Hands off!" echoed through the concrete canyons of New York City. The chant reverberated across the National Mall in Washington, D.C. This was not just a protest, it was a national awakening. The sheer scale of the demonstrations was breathtaking. Over 1,400 protests erupted across all 50 states. Major cities were brought to a standstill. Smaller towns buzzed with unprecedented activism. The message was clear: America had had enough. The time for complacency was over. This was not just an American uprising. In cities like London and Paris, solidarity marches swelled with supporters. The world watched as America, once again, became a battleground for democracy. The stakes were higher than ever before. The future, not just of a nation but of global stability, hung in the balance. The crowds were a tapestry of diversity, reflecting the multifaceted anxieties of a nation on edge. Organizers estimated attendance in the millions. Families with young children marched alongside seasoned activists. Veterans stood shoulder to shoulder with first-time protesters. The energy was electric, fueled by a shared sense of urgency and a deep-seated fear for the soul of America. This was not the work of a single organization, but a spontaneous outpouring of collective frustration. A coalition of pro-democracy groups, civil rights organizations, veterans, women's rights groups, labor unions, and LGBTQ+ advocates came together. They were united by their opposition to the Trump administration's policies and the growing influence of Elon Musk, the controversial head of the Department of Government Efficiency. The protests were a resounding rejection of the politics of division and fear. They were a testament to the power of collective action and the enduring belief in a more just and equitable society. The message was clear: America would not be silenced. The fight for the soul of the nation had just begun. From makeshift podiums and crowded stages, a chorus of voices rose to challenge the Trump administration. Prominent figures like Representatives Jamie Raskin, Ilhan Omar, and Maxwell Frost addressed the crowds in Washington, D.C., their words amplified by a sea of raised fists and thunderous applause. Senator Elizabeth Warren delivered a fiery speech in Boston, condemning the administration's economic policies. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez rallied protesters in New York City, calling for the protection of vulnerable communities. Actor Mark Ruffalo, a vocal critic of the administration, lent his voice to the cause, urging Americans to stay engaged and resist complacency. The speeches were not just about opposition, they were about hope. They were a call to action, a reminder that the fight for democracy is a marathon, not a sprint. The speakers urged the crowds to channel their anger into sustained action, to organize, to vote, and to never give up on the promise of a better America. As the sun set on April 5th, the echoes of "Hands Off" continued to reverberate across the nation. The protests were a powerful reminder that the fight for democracy is a continuous struggle, one that demands unwavering vigilance and active participation. The Trump administration's policies, coupled with Elon Musk's growing influence, have pushed the nation to a tipping point. The protests were just the beginning. The road ahead will be long and arduous, but the events of April 5th have ignited a spark of hope. The fight for a more just, equitable, and democratic America continues. The millions who took to the streets have shown that the spirit of resistance is alive and well. The time for complacency is over. The time for action is now.